The girl that August Cleveland had always loved deeply returned to the country. I, who had been his substitute, was finally set free and no longer had to hide the fact that I was divorced and had 3 children. You can leave now. Never show up in front of her again, August said expressionlessly as he gave me $20 million and drove me away. I wept with joy and pulled out my 3 children. Come on, thank Uncle August, I said. August's face suddenly turned livid, and he crushed the coffee cup with a snap. I was stunned. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. I was spotted by August when I was DJing at a bar. This well-known young master of a wealthy family spent $148 million that night and specifically asked for me to accompany him for a drink. I didn't want to do such a thing, but when I thought of the 3 children in the apartment who were eagerly waiting to be fed, I compromised. I accompanied him for half an hour. He neither kissed nor touched me. He just stared at my face until his eyes were red. You really look like her, August murmured to himself, and then he fell into my arms. Stay with me for 2 years, and I'll give you $20 million. I was dumbfounded. Wasn't this like a pie falling from the sky? $20 million in 2 years would be enough for my 3 children to study at Harvard. Okay, but let's make it clear in advance. I don't do those kinky things, and I won't accept anything perverted. I looked at the drunken August and set some ground rules first. He sneered and glanced at me with a sidelong look. Do you even deserve for me to play with you? Huh, great. I don't deserve it. August didn't want to have anything intimate with me at all. He just took me to his luxurious villa and made me the decorative hostess. He asked me to put on the exquisite clothes in the bedroom closet, wear the expensive jewelry, and he also gave me a pair of beige high-heeled shoes inlaid with diamonds. I really liked high-heeled shoes, especially this pair. It completely fascinated me. I put on the high-heeled shoes, lifted the hem of my skirt, and trotted a few steps in the villa. I admired myself in the mirror. So beautiful. I'm truly amazing. The top DJ at the bar on the Wynn Street of Wanda Plaza. Who allowed you to run? What if you break them? August stood on the stairs with a cold face and his eyes slightly narrowed. He was really a cool and domineering CEO. Aren't these shoes you gave me? I bought them for her, but she didn't want them. You just put them on for me to have a look. Don't break them. August stared at the high-heeled shoes on my feet. I was speechless in my heart but nodded repeatedly. Who would turn down $20 million? I let August have a good look, showing him my instep, sole, and ankle, rotating 360 degrees for him. If she wore them, she would surely look even more beautiful. August sighed with a bitter expression. Then he threw me a bank card and said there were $5 million in it as my pocket money. I had all kinds of freedom, but I had to come back to the villa at night. If he was at home, I also had to keep him company. Obviously, he was still quite satisfied with me. I almost laughed with joy. My babies. Mom has money now. Of course, for the sake of fairness, I still mentioned to August, do you have no other requirements for me? I'm not a virgin. I don't care about your identity or background. You just need to be a good substitute. But there's one thing you must remember. Don't even think about developing feelings for me. Otherwise, I'll kick you out immediately, August said with a stern face. How dare I say anything? Yes, young master. August went back to the company the next day, and I was quite free. I decisively took the $5 million and slipped back to my apartment. All 3 children were there, and they were quiet. The eldest child was 3 years old and was making milk powder with water. The second child was 2 years old and was sitting on the small toilet pooping. The third child was half a year old and drooling over the milk powder. When I saw them, I beamed with joy. I had chosen the wrong person to marry in the past. I married a scoundrel and ended up with nothing but these 3 children. And they were all boys. In this society, it's already difficult to remarry with 1 boy, let alone 3. So I didn't plan to remarry at all. I decided to raise my children without their father and work hard to support them. Mom, look at the milk powder I made. The eldest child ran over with his short legs flapping, showing off the milk bottle. The third child babbled and tried to grab it in a hurry. The second child grinned and ran towards me, with a piece of poop still hanging behind his buttocks. No, stop. I was terrified. The second child stopped, looked at his little butt, giggled shyly, and squatted down again. I shouted towards the kitchen, and a woman in her 40s wearing an apron ran out. She let out a sigh of relief and said, "Frida, you're finally back. I wanted to cook for the babies, but I was afraid they would fall or bump into something. I'm exhausted." She was the nanny I hired, Auntie Alice. She was dedicated to her work and loved the children very much, treating them as her own. "Thank you so much, Auntie Alice. I'll give you a raise starting next month, an extra $1,000 per month." I was grateful to Auntie Alice and also felt a bit guilty, because she had always charged less than the market price. She knew it was too hard for me to raise the children alone and had never asked for a price increase. No. You know I have more than a dozen buildings for rent at home. I don't need this extra money, Auntie Alice said with a smile and went to wipe the second child's butt. I choked. "Thank you, Auntie Alice." I had the meal cooked by Auntie Alice and then immediately went to look for a bigger and better house. This apartment was still too small. Although the rent was cheap, it was really uncomfortable for the whole family to live in such a cramped place. In the evening, I selected a luxurious apartment. The rent was more than $20,000 per month, but it didn't matter. I had $5 million with me, and August would give me another $20 million in 2 years. It was already late at night by the time I settled down the children. I took a taxi back to August's villa. The villa was brightly lit but extremely quiet. August was sitting alone on the sofa, examining a photo, his face filled with nostalgia and melancholy. I even wanted to play a background music for him. "How could you forget? You were the first to say you loved me, Mr. August." "I'm back," I said respectfully as I walked over. August turned the photo over and pressed it down. He stared at me coldly and said, "Go take a shower and put on the white bathrobe." Okay. I did as I was told. When I came out wearing the white bathrobe with my long hair draped over my shoulders, August's eyes lit up, and he stared at me without blinking. "You really look like her. Why did you leave?" He started mumbling to himself again, and then he motioned for me to come over. I walked over, and he pulled me into his arms, greedily breathing in the scent of my hair. I didn't dare to move at all. Finally, he seemed satisfied, but then his face turned cold again. "Go and cut your hair short tomorrow. Don't keep long hair. Long hair makes you look too much like her. Isn't it better to look a bit like her?" "No. She's unique. You can't look too much like her, and you can never compare to her." "Huh. If it weren't for the money, I would press your head on the DJ deck and hammer you crazy." I still went and cut my hair short. It made me look more capable and dashing. August didn't show much expression, neither liking nor disliking it. I didn't care about him. Anyway, I was just doing this for the money, and I was very happy. The life as a substitute started like this. I lived in the big villa comfortably, enjoyed the service of the nanny, and saved the pocket money that August gave me bit by bit. He had a great advantage. Every time he admired me as his substitute, he would transfer money to me. For example, when I put on the long dress of his beloved girl and danced, he transferred $100,000 to me. For example, when I watched the sunset in the evening and hummed a song, and he said my back looked like hers, he transferred $200,000 to me. He was really a big spender. In just half a year, I hadn't even shown him my naked body, but there were already $2 million more in my small savings. I was truly delighted. I saved money while raising my children. The 3 children moved into the villa, and I hired 2 more nannies to relieve Auntie Alice's pressure. I also often took the red wine, snacks, and unwanted jewelry from August's house back home to enrich my small family and decorate my sweet dream of being a divorced young woman. I'm really a smart person. He. Such a good life continued until one winter night. I don't know what got into August. He stayed at the bar until midnight, and it was butler Mark who dragged him back. He smelled of alcohol and lay on the bed. The nannies were wiping his body for him. He was crying and mumbling to himself, "Today is my birthday. She didn't send me a message. She forgot. She really forgot." The nannies looked at each other and all burst out laughing. "Stop laughing at him. He's so poor." I pulled my mouth that had been grinning to the side back to normal. "Yes, madam." The nannies stopped laughing. After wiping August clean, they tiptoed downstairs. August had already fallen asleep. I yawned and went back to my own bedroom. I set an alarm clock to wake up at 8 in the morning. After a beautiful dream ended, the alarm clock rang. I went to August's room refreshed and sat quietly by his bedside. pretending to doze off. When my waist was already sore, I felt a hand touch my face. "Did you stay up all night?" August asked hoarsely. I straightened my waist and rubbed my eyes. "Huh, you're awake. I'll go and make you some ginger soup to drink." I was about to go out, but August grabbed my hand tightly. "Don't go." I turned to look at him. His eyes were still red, and there was a strange expression on his face. "Who asked you to stay with me? Do you think I'm a child? You gave me so much money. It's only right for me to stay with you for a night." "I was afraid you would vomit," I said matter-of-factly. Since I took so much money from him, I had to pretend a bit. August fell silent and gently let go of my hand without saying anything. When August was completely sober, it was dark again. I secretly made a video call to Auntie Alice and saw my 3 children. My heart was filled with sweetness. August suddenly walked over. "There's an important meeting in the company tomorrow. I need to choose a suit. You can accompany me. You don't like taking me out, do you?" "Don't talk so much. I've told you before," August said coldly. I stopped asking and just accompanied him to go shopping. When we arrived at the suit store, someone was already waiting. They introduced one suit after another to August and also suggested that August try them on. "Frida, help me choose one. I don't want to try them on." August was being lazy and asked me to choose. I looked through them all and pointed at a light gray one. "This one. It suits you quite well." August frowned. "Are you sure?" She hates suits of this color the most. "Come on. I think it suits you," I said indifferently and pouted. The store owner also flattered him. "Mr. August looks good in anything. This suit will definitely look great on you." August didn't say anything. He slowly reached out and stroked the suit, and finally nodded. "I'll try it on." He tried it on the spot. When he came out wearing the suit, my eyes lit up. I had to admire this guy's good looks and figure. He was really amazing. Although I had always made fun of August's infatuation, he was indeed truly handsome and was the dream lover of millions of girls. "Mr. August is so handsome. This suit is simply tailor-made for you." The store owner's eyes also lit up. If you didn't know better, you'd think he had suddenly become gay. August didn't answer. He just looked at himself in the mirror and smiled slightly, which was rare for him. I heard him whisper, "It turns out that gray looks really good too." After we got home, August transferred $300,000 to me, saying that I had performed well today and helped him choose the most suitable suit. It was from this day on that August's attitude towards me improved a lot. He used to speak coldly and didn't treat me as a human being at all. In his eyes, I was just a toy to soothe his soul. But now, he would occasionally smile at me, and he would also come home for a meal during the day and take a look at me. His toy. Time flew by like this, and my 3 children grew up a lot. The eldest and the second child were both in kindergarten, and I often secretly went to see them. I went to see them in a Porsche. The Porsche was bought by me privately with the pocket money August gave me. I now had nearly $10 million in my personal savings. If I spent it carefully, I wouldn't be able to spend it all in my lifetime. August was really a great person. Naturally, I treated him well too. I showed my concern for him in every possible way. When he drank alcohol at night, I would cook ginger soup for him. When he had problems at work, I would make a video call to sing for him. When he felt gloomy in the middle of the night, I would take him to the bar to DJ. I was playing the game of repaying kindness. After all, he was a great benefactor to me. I was also very sensible. I would never wear that pair of beige high-heeled shoes inlaid with diamonds without permission. I would only wear them when he wanted to see them. As soon as my hair grew long, I would immediately go and cut it short, trying not to tarnish August's beloved girl. Well, although the 2-year deadline was approaching, I was still doing my best. I went and cut my hair short again. But this time, August stared at my short hair, and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. "Who told you to cut it? You've always asked me to do so," I said, feeling confused. "I don't ask for that anymore. You are you, and she is she," August said coldly, and his eyes flickered. I was stunned. "What do you mean?" He exhaled and looked away, gently stroking the ring on his finger. "After all these years, I've let it go. You don't have to be like her anymore." After saying that, he immediately went upstairs, not giving me a chance to ask more questions. However, he transferred $500,000 to me again, asking me to dress up nicely and attend his friend's party tonight. I had no objections. I dressed up beautifully and accompanied him to the friend's party. His friends were all second-generation people from high society. They were familiar with each other but also polite. It was rare to have true friends among them. I became the focus of attention. After all, I was accompanying August to the party. Many people praised me, and some people had strange expressions, as if they could tell that I looked very much like August's beloved girl. August was calm and elegant. He held my hand and clinked glasses with others, and he also invited me to dance. Looking at his mature and handsome face, as well as his slender figure set off by the gray suit that I had chosen for him, I, the top DJ, was dazed for a moment. This guy was really too handsome. Okay, I'll dance with you. I smiled. August smiled back, and there was a rare trace of tenderness in his eyes. But the next moment, a brash man came over and slapped him on the shoulder. August, Grace is back in the country. Did you know that? August's body trembled. His pupils instantly shrank, and the hand that was holding mine involuntarily withdrew. My hand suddenly fell empty and landed on my own thigh. What did you say? August stared at the man, like a suppressed beast. I said Grace is back in the country and she's still single. The man teased. August pursed his lips and turned around to leave. Where are you going? The man asked. To find her. The brief reply was resolute. Without the slightest hesitation, I stood there in a daze. August didn't look back at me even once from beginning to end. The party ended unpleasantly because the main character, August, left halfway through. The news that Grace had returned to the country also spread, and everyone was talking about it. She was obviously a popular figure in the circle of the wealthy second generation. I also heard some information about Grace. She was the daughter of the Barton family. She and August had been childhood sweethearts. Their families were well matched, and they were regarded as a perfect couple. But 3 years ago, Grace suddenly left without saying goodbye, as if she had vanished into thin air. August went crazy looking for her. In the end, he only learned from Grace's parents that Grace had gone abroad for further study and that she had broken up with August. August naturally wasn't willing to give up, but no matter how hard he searched, he couldn't find Grace. Later, he knelt down in front of Grace's parents and finally managed to get in touch with Grace. But the other party only said the cold words, break up. If August asked one more word, he would surely be blocked. After going crazy like this for a year, August had to give up. It was also at that time that he met me in the bar and took me back to his villa. To be honest, these wealthy second-generation people really make a big deal out of a breakup. Can't they just talk it out properly? I silently said in my heart, took some pastries from the party, and went home. When I got back to my own villa, all 3 children were asleep. Auntie Alice was playing on her phone, yawning constantly. She was about to go to bed too. When she saw me come back, she was a bit surprised. Frida, why didn't you tell me you were coming back? I usually informed her in advance when I came back, but tonight was a bit unusual. After all, I had been abandoned. I thought you were asleep. It's okay. I'm going to stay at home from now on, I said as I took off my high-heeled shoes, feeling a surge of joy in my heart. I was going to live in my own villa. This was my real home. That's great. It's good to stay at home. The outside is a mess, Auntie Alice said with a beaming smile. She knew I worked in a bar and was often worried. I had suddenly become wealthy in the past 2 years, and she had long suspected that I was doing something shady. I didn't explain either. I just told her to go to bed at ease, and I would have some supper myself. The pastries from the party were quite delicious, and I ate them all by myself. After eating my fill, I looked at my phone. There wasn't a single message. I still felt a bit unaccustomed. After all, in the past, after I secretly came home, August often sent me messages asking where I had gone. It was already the middle of the night, and I wasn't by his side. He didn't ask a single word. Obviously, there was someone else by his side. Since there was someone else by August's side, I, as his substitute, could retire. I looked around the luxurious living room of my villa and touched the leather sofa I was sitting on. I was content. In 2 years, I had a villa, a Porsche, tens of millions of dollars in savings, and I could also get a reward of $20 million. How could I not be satisfied? Thinking of this, I immediately threw August out of my mind. The little bit of affection I had for him was nothing more than coveting his good looks. But there were so many handsome men in the world. When I got the $20 million and left, I could even hire 100 of them and touch their abs every day. I took a comfortable shower and fell asleep as soon as I lay down. I didn't get up until noon the next day. I felt completely refreshed. I hadn't slept so soundly for a long time. I turned on my phone, and there were still no messages. For the next 3 consecutive days, there wasn't a single message. It seemed that August had completely forgotten about me. Naturally, I wasn't happy. I still had the reward of $20 million. I took the initiative to send him a message. Mr. August, are you busy? He replied instantly. Don't contact me. She will misunderstand if she sees it. Huh. I edited another message. Then when will you give me the $20 million? The message couldn't be sent because I had been deleted. I was furious on the spot. What did August mean? What about my $20 million? He wasn't short of money and had never been stingy with me. So it was impossible for him not to give me the $20 million. The only explanation was that he was so stuck in Grace's company that he had forgotten his promise to me. I was just a toy who could fend for myself. I shouldn't bother him anymore. But it was $20 million. I couldn't just give it up. So after having a meal, I went out and went to find August in person to ask for that money. When I returned to August's villa, the roses in the yard were in full bloom. Those were Grace's favorite flowers. They bloomed every year and attracted August's attention every year. I used my fingerprint to enter the yard and went to look for August. Familiar with the way, the villa was quite lively. Many servants were busy, seemingly doing a major cleaning and moving out a lot of sundries. As soon as I got closer, I heard a clear and pleasant voice. Throw away this pair of high-heeled shoes too. Someone else has worn them. Okay, Miss Grace. A nanny came out carrying that pair of beige high-heeled shoes inlaid with diamonds. She threw them into the trash can with a look of pity. I also felt sorry when I saw it. That was a customized pair worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. If she didn't want it, she could have given it to me. Ms. Frida, why are you back? A voice pulled my attention back. Standing beside me was the butler Mark, whom I had long been familiar with. Butler Mark had taken care of my life for the past 2 years. He had been working in the Cleveland family for more than 20 years. Mark, don't call me madam anymore. I can't afford it. I joked. Butler Mark had a complicated expression. He opened his mouth but hesitated to speak. Finally, he said in a low voice, Ms. Frida, you'd better leave quickly. Miss Grace knows about your existence. She's not as gentle as she used to be. Time really can change everything. As soon as he finished speaking, Grace walked out of the villa gate and saw me. Butler Mark immediately lowered his head and walked away. Grace stared at me, a bit curious and also somewhat condescending. I sized her up and found that she was really delicate. Her skin was fair and flawless. Her long hair was flowing and beautiful, and she exuded an air of elegance that was untainted by the world. She really lived up to being the daughter of a wealthy family. She did look quite similar to me in appearance and figure, but our temperaments were completely different. I was dynamic, and she was quiet. I nodded and greeted her, maintaining my politeness. Grace smiled sweetly. Ms. Frida really does look like me. No wonder August was willing to keep you for 2 years. It was obvious that she had found out everything. I smiled but didn't say anything. Grace brushed her hair aside and casually pointed towards the villa. August wants me to move in, so I'm doing some cleaning. You can take your things away at any time. And you can also move away whatever you want. Really, I wanted quite a few things. After all, this villa was like a manor, and there were so many valuable things in it. Of course it's true. I have a cleanliness fetish. I don't want to use things that others have used. Like that pair of high-heeled shoes, Grace said meaningfully and glanced at the trash can. There was a faint sense of hostility and arrogance in her words. The arrogance of a mistress. Then thank you. I smiled with my teeth showing and called the logistics service. Send 10 trucks. I need to move some things. I wasn't polite at all. Since Grace didn't like things that others had used, I would take them. 10 logistics trucks soon arrived, and I immediately started moving things like an ant. The projector, the karaoke machine, the tape recorder, the treadmill, the washing machine. I moved everything that could be moved. These were all high-end items. Moving them to my villa would directly upgrade my dream of being a divorced young woman. Grace was a bit stunned and stared blankly at the workers moving the things. Then she sneered, shook her head gently. looking serene and elegant. I then told her, "Please trouble Miss Grace to convey to Mr. August that he still owes me $20 million. Please ask him to settle it at a certain time. I will ask a lawyer to sign a donation agreement with him. You're an interesting woman, but women like you usually can't get a man's love," Grace said playfully. "Now I understand why August didn't hesitate to abandon you and why he blocked you at the slightest disagreement. How could he be attracted to a woman like you?" Grace showed a victorious smile. I understood her smile. She didn't see me as a rival anymore. I felt at ease. I was just afraid that she would cause trouble and treat me as a love rival and torment me. I didn't have the intention to be her love rival. I just wanted to raise my children. Yes, I'm just a DJ in a bar. Mr. August won't take a fancy to me. I only have a financial transaction with him. I nodded and admitted. As long as I admitted it quickly enough, Grace's hostility couldn't catch up with me. A DJ in a bar. I haven't been to a bar for many years, Grace murmured to herself. I casually said, "I'll go back to my old job after I leave. You can come to the Blue Bar on Wanda Wynn Street to see me if you have time." Blue. Grace's face suddenly changed. Then she breathed rapidly, reached out to support the wall, and her whole body was trembling. I was taken aback. What was wrong with this woman? I quickly supported her. She shakily took out a small medicine bottle from her pocket and tried to take a pill. But the pills spilled all over the ground. And she also broke down and burst into tears. I was at a loss. And the nannies were also panicked. Coincidentally, August came back. His Ferrari almost crashed into the yard. Then he rushed out of the car in one stride, pushed me away forcefully, and hugged Grace tightly. "Grace, what's wrong? It's okay. It's okay." Grace then calmed down a bit and buried her head in August's arms while crying. August turned around and scolded everyone. "What did you do?" Everyone was terrified. I replied, "Miss Grace suddenly became like this. We were chatting just now." "What were you chatting about?" August stared at me, with no trace of tenderness in the depths of his eyes. "About the bar. The Blue Bar where I work as a DJ," I said truthfully. August flew into a rage and actually slapped me. "Who told you to mention Blue? Get out of here." I was slapped so hard that I was dizzy, and my head was buzzing. Butler Mark quickly stepped forward and pulled me away. In my blurred vision, I only saw the figure of August comforting Grace with his head lowered. When I walked out of the villa, I was still a bit dazed. My cheek was burning with pain, and I was also extremely angry inside. I knew that August didn't treat me as a human being, but this was the first time he had hit me. It was as if the experiences of the past 2 years and his occasional tenderness had never existed and had all been shattered by this slap. "Ms. Frida, I told you to leave earlier. You insisted on moving the furniture." Sigh. Butler Mark felt a bit sorry for me. I gritted my teeth. "I don't just want to move the furniture. I also want the $20 million. I deserve it." I know. Don't be angry for now. I'll talk to Mr. August. He definitely won't renege on his debt." Butler Mark was afraid that I would lose my temper. I covered my face, and it took me a long time to suppress my anger. "Hurry up. I just want to get the $20 million and leave. I'm not interested in getting involved in their affairs." I was single-mindedly focused on getting the money. Butler Mark nodded and then hesitated. "Actually, Mr. August has feelings for you. I can tell. However, it seems that Miss Grace has experienced some great hardship. She's sensitive and suspicious and lacks a sense of security. She needs Mr. August to take care of her wholeheartedly. So Mr. August has to be heartless towards you." "Heartless towards me." I understood. August was treating me harshly to show Grace. He wanted to make sure that Grace wouldn't be suspicious or sad. So, he didn't hesitate to abandon me, blocked me at the slightest disagreement, and slapped me in a fit of anger. And I, as a substitute, a toy. What did it matter if I was beaten or scolded? "Stop talking. I just want the $20 million. August has to give it to me as soon as possible." Butler Mark was still very efficient in handling things. 4 days after I got home, he contacted me. "Ms. Frida, I talked to Mr. August about the $20 million. He said he will give it to you, but he can't get away for now." Butler Mark explained to me, "Ever since you mentioned the Blue Bar last time, Miss Grace has been in a bad mood. She even wakes up crying in the middle of the night. Mr. August hasn't slept for several days and is accompanying Miss Grace all the time. I was speechless when I heard this and asked, "What on earth is wrong with the blue bar? Does Grace have a grudge against it?" Butler Mark considered for a moment and said, "I don't know the specific situation either. It seems that Miss Grace went abroad because she encountered something bad in the blue bar back then. When Mr. August was comforting her, he kept saying that he didn't mind, that she wasn't dirty, and told her to relax and so on." Butler Mark didn't say more. He had already done his best by telling me these things. I blinked and probably guessed what had happened to Grace. Most of the bad things that happen in a bar are related to that kind of thing. A young lady from a wealthy family lost her virginity in a bar, then became withdrawn and went abroad, and her personality changed greatly. It was very possible. It was just a bit cliched. Of course, I thought the most cliched thing was that when Grace encountered such a thing, instead of calling the police or asking August to avenge her, she went abroad to hide. Did she think that she wasn't worthy of August because she had lost her innocence? This is really ridiculous. Forget it. I'm not interested in them. You can urge August more and let him give me the money as soon as possible. I pouted. Butler Mark agreed. A week later, when I was shopping with my 3 children, I suddenly received a call from Butler Mark. "Ms. Frida, go to the RX Cafe. Mr. August is waiting for you there." I was overjoyed. August finally had time to give me the money. I touched the donation agreement that I always carried in my bag and smiled widely. It was worth it that I had already asked a lawyer to help me draw up a donation agreement for the $20 million. It could be used today. I took my 3 children and went to the RX Cafe. The RX Cafe was very famous, and it was also a place that I often came to with August when we went shopping in the past. Sitting here, ordering a cup of coffee to rest and moisten my throat, and looking at the warm glow of the setting sun outside the window, there is an illusion of being in love. I arranged for my 3 children to stay in the corner of the cafe and told them not to run around. Then I went to the familiar seat to look for August. He was indeed here. Today he was unusually stern. He was wearing a straight black suit. His hair was neatly combed, and he looked as sharp as a blade drawn from its sheath. He hadn't worn a black suit for a long time. The gray suit was what he wore most often. I always thought he looked a bit more handsome in the gray suit. Of course, it didn't matter to me anymore. I sat down. Before I could speak, he took out a card from his pocket and pushed it in front of me. "This is $20 million. The password is 6 zeros. Take it and leave. Don't show up in front of me again. And especially don't show up in front of her." When August said these words, his eyes were even fixed on the setting sun outside the window. I decisively put away the card and took out the donation agreement from my bag at the same time. "Mr. August, please sign this," I said thoughtfully as I handed him a pen. He finally looked at me directly. He looked at the agreement in surprise, then squinted at me. "You even prepared the agreement?" "Naturally. If it wasn't in a hurry, I would have liked to call my lawyer here." I nodded matter-of-factly. August's eyes were deep, as if hiding endless thoughts. I urged him, "Sign it quickly. The terms in this agreement are actually very simple. Everything you gave me, including the $20 million and the pocket money you gave me before, are all voluntarily donated and will never be taken back." Upon hearing this, August sneered. "You really are greedy for money. You've been here for the money these 2 years, haven't you?" What he said was really something. If I wasn't here for the money, was I here to move China? Yes, I admitted generously. August stopped smiling. He stared at me and suddenly looked at my right cheek. "I had a reason for hitting you last time. Grace has psychological trauma. She received treatment in the United States for 3 years and finally recovered. I don't want her to go through the same thing again." My mention of Blue Bar almost made Grace go through that nightmare again. "It's okay. Since I took so much money from you, I can accept getting slapped. Please sign the agreement quickly," I said indifferently, raising my face. August lowered his head to look at the agreement and gradually fell silent. I was getting anxious waiting, so I simply ordered a cup of coffee for him to ease the atmosphere. When the coffee was served, August had finished reading the agreement. He pointed to the last line of the text and asked, "Why did you add the words 'from now on'? We will not owe each other anything and will not see each other again. It's unnecessary. Since our cooperation has expired, it's naturally better for us not to owe each other anything and not to see each other again. Didn't you also say that you don't want me to show up in front of you?" I was really confused. Clearly, He himself had said that he didn't want me to show up in front of him. Why did he still care about this? August was silent for a moment. Then he smiled self-deprecatingly. You're right. After saying that, he calmly signed his name. Thus, our contract had expired. I laughed out loud. This divorced young woman was finally free and could finally live a carefree and wonderful life. Thank you, Mr. August. I will never forget your great kindness for the rest of my life. I stood up and bowed. August picked up the coffee cup and took a sip. His voice was indifferent. You're very happy. Very happy. Extremely happy. Thank you again. I bowed again. August's fingers tightened around the coffee cup, and the corner of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. I'm happy too. I don't have to see you. This fake. Anymore. Yes. 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 This fake. Should disappear immediately. I put away the contract and said goodbye to August. He looked at me expressionlessly. I thought for a moment and then said, actually, there's something I've always wanted to tell you about my identity. I remember I told you that I'm not interested in your identity or background. I don't care at all who you are. Now that we're going our separate ways, I care even less. August interrupted me again, just like he did 2 years ago. I was completely relieved. Just then, my 3 children ran over. They were curious to see me bowing all the time. I pulled them all over and said enthusiastically, come on, thank Uncle August. If it weren't for him, we'd still be living a hard life. The 3 children were confused, but they always listened to me. They all showed innocent smiles in unison. Thank you, Uncle August. Thank you, Uncle August. August froze instantly. His pupils constricted. His lips trembled slightly without being noticed. His palm holding the coffee cup clenched tightly, and even the veins stood out. Frida, who are they? August's throat moved. My sons. All of them are my sons. The eldest is 5 years old. The second is 4 years old. And the youngest is 2.5 years old. I introduced them enthusiastically. Hello, Uncle August. Thank you, Uncle August. The 3 children said in unison. With a snap, the coffee cup in August's hand was actually crushed, and the hot coffee spilled all over the floor. I was stunned. When did Mr. August's slender fingers become so strong? Or was the quality of the coffee cup too poor? Sir, I'm sorry. Are you okay? The waiter rushed over. August's clenched palm still hadn't loosened, and blood was continuously seeping from his palm. Clearly, he was cut. I pulled my 3 children back 2 steps and pretended to be concerned. Mr. August, are you okay? Do we need to call an ambulance? August stared at me with a pale face, then at my 3 children, and remained silent for a long time. Finally, he stood up, and his expression returned to normal. I'm leaving. Our agreement ends here. I hope we never see each other again. August finally left. I had $20 million in my pocket. Along with the donation agreement, I had one big. Although $20 million wasn't a lot in this glamorous and materialistic metropolis, it was enough for my family of 4. That night, I started researching financial management. After researching all night, I decided to deposit most of the money in a fixed-term account to earn interest, and invest a small portion in funds. As for stocks and such, I wouldn't touch them at all. I couldn't help it. I was timid. As a sudden upstart like me who didn't know how to make money work for me, I just wanted to keep my principal. Thus, my dream of being a divorced wealthy woman had been realized. Every day, I lived in a villa, drove a luxury car, and had complete freedom in terms of food, clothing, and daily expenses. It was wonderful. However, when people were idle, they got bored. I was also a rather lively person, so after being idle for a few months, I decided to find a job. I was best at DJing, and now I had the confidence to ignore rude customers. I decisively went to a new bar to be a DJ and have a thrilling and exciting life. I only DJed 2 nights a week and purely earned my living expenses. One night, I saw Grace. She was wearing a black hat, a black work uniform, and her long hair was tied into 2 ponytails. She was swaying her body on the dance floor, extremely dazzling. The work uniform was mature and elegant, and the ponytails added a touch of innocence and vitality. With such a contrast, it was hard for her not to be the center of attention in the crowd. I hadn't gone on stage to DJ yet. I was watching her figure behind the stage, feeling a bit confused. Wasn't Grace violated in a bar? Didn't she have an attack just by mentioning the blue bar? So why did she come to the bar alone to dance in the middle of the night? Could it be that as long as it wasn't the blue bar, she wouldn't have an attack in other bars? I thought about it for a while and asked my colleague to replace me on stage to DJ. I didn't want to show my face in case Grace made trouble again. I went to remove my makeup and change my clothes, ready to go home. Before leaving, I went to the restroom. As soon as I closed the cubicle door, Grace came in. She seemed to be accompanied by someone. "Hey, what are you coming in for?" "This is the women's restroom," Grace said with a bit of coquetry. "Baby, this is more exciting. You've been by August's side for so many days. I've missed you so much." The man was even more eager than a monkey, and I thought his voice sounded a bit familiar. Grace snorted. "You probably miss my body, don't you? 3 years ago. If it wasn't for you always pestering me and making the Cleveland family suspicious, I wouldn't have had to go abroad to hide. And you even made up that disgusting excuse. Come on. You're overthinking it. The Cleveland family is very satisfied with you. How could they suspect you? Didn't you see how crazy August was? He almost committed suicide without you." The man sneered. Grace snorted again. "I always feel that August has changed. He's been treating me better and better. He's willing to do anything for me. But I always feel that something is missing." "Missing what? You don't understand. You only know how to play with a woman's body," Grace said disdainfully. "I don't want to play with a woman's heart. It's too hard to deal with." The man laughed lewdly and pushed Grace into the restroom cubicle next to mine. Then, they made some unsightly noises. I felt that my ears were suffering unprecedented torture, so I quickly sneaked away. Grace really shocked me. Was this what a young lady from the upper class was like? Having an affair with a man in the women's restroom of a bar. Moreover, it seemed that it wasn't the first time. At least it had started 3 years ago. She went abroad because that man pestered her frequently and aroused the suspicion of the Cleveland family. The upper-class circle was really chaotic. I was rubbing my ears on the way home, feeling that they were so itchy as if they had been defiled. When I got home and was about to take a shower, Butler Mark actually called me. It was already 2:30 in the morning. I answered the phone. "Mark, what's up?" We hadn't contacted each other for at least half a year. Butler Mark lowered his voice. "Ms. Frida, Miss Grace went home tonight, and Mr. August is looking at photos in the living room." "Oh, he likes looking at Grace's old photos." I shrugged. "No, he's looking at your photos." "Huh." I was stunned for a moment and then laughed out loud. "Mark, you're not sleeping in the middle of the night. Are you kidding me?" "Ms. Frida, I'm not kidding you. Mr. August is really looking at your photos," Butler Mark said firmly. "These days, Miss Grace has been in the villa all the time. Mr. August only has eyes for her and never leaves her side, as if he has already forgotten you. But tonight, as soon as Miss Grace left, he completely changed. How should I put it? He looks almost the same as he did back then when he couldn't find Miss Grace and got drunk every day." Butler Mark sighed. "I think Mr. August doesn't like Miss Grace anymore. It's just that he thinks he still does, and he doesn't want to let Miss Grace get hurt. But in fact, the one who is really getting hurt is himself." "Mark, you're really an expert in love." I was amused. Mark was so funny. Butler Mark was anxious when I said that and kept emphasizing that August didn't like Grace anymore. "Don't worry, I believe you. But it has nothing to do with me anymore. I really didn't want to get involved in other people's affairs." Butler Mark pondered for a moment and then said, "Ms. Frida, I've watched August grow up. I know best what's on his mind. But he himself is also confused. Now that Grace is back, he's even more confused. To be honest, I think there's something wrong with Grace. She's probably back with a purpose." Butler Mark considered for a moment. Now the Cleveland Families Group is at a crucial moment of development. The master is leading the team abroad. If the young master makes any mistakes, it will have a great impact on the Cleveland Families Group. I was confused. How did this get related to the Cleveland Families Group? "Mark, I don't understand business. Just tell me what you want to do directly." I didn't believe that Butler Mark called me in the middle of the night just to chat. Finally, he stated his purpose. "Ms. Frida, come back and stay with Mr. August to help him cheer up and find his true feelings. He really doesn't like Grace anymore. You must make him wake up and not sink into his past feelings. No. I refused immediately. $5 million. Yes. I still wanted to earn this $5 million. Butler Mark finally let out a sigh of relief and promised that he would apply for the fee from Master August. If I really helped August, Master August would be willing to give me not just $5 million but even $10 million. Okay. I believe you. I'll go find August tomorrow. I yawned. Butler Mark tried to persuade me with a smile. Why don't you come now? I'll send someone to pick you up. No. Add another $1 million. Yes. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I arrived at August's villa. Since I had emptied the villa before, Grace had spent a lot of effort redecorating it. The layout and decorations that I was familiar with had completely changed. Even the roses in the yard had been pulled out. When I entered the yard, Butler Mark emerged from the darkness to greet me. I swept a glance at the yard. The roses are gone. Yes. Grace said they looked too vulgar. She doesn't understand the young master's feelings at all. Just because of her casual words, I like roses in the past. The young master planted roses for 3 years. Butler Mark felt a bit sorry for the sea of roses. I clicked my tongue twice and walked straight towards the villa. Mr. August is still sitting in the living room. I don't know if he's asleep. He hasn't moved for a long time, so I was in a hurry to ask you to come and take a look. Butler Mark was anxious. I pushed the door open and indeed saw August sitting on the sofa without moving, his head lowered. I went over and took a look. He was indeed asleep, his palm weakly holding a photo. The photo was taken when I accompanied him to a party. Maybe it was taken by the photographer at the party and given to him. I didn't even know there was such a photo of me. However, I was really beautiful in that photo. I decisively put it in my bag. I would frame it when I had time and let my 3 children admire their beautiful mother every day. Ms. Frida, should we wake up the young master? Butler Mark whispered. I shook my head, sat down next to August, and yawned again. I was so sleepy. Butler Mark looked at me and then at August. And then he smiled and went out. I lay down on the sofa and fell asleep. August's body also leaned over. When the sun was high in the sky, I woke up and saw August standing upright, with his back to me, looking at the photo frame on the wall. There was a portrait photo of Grace in the photo frame. I sat up yawning. Before I could speak, August said coldly, "Get out." August's voice was as cold as the biting wind. I played my trump card. Last night, Grace was having an affair with a man in the women's restroom of the bar. August suddenly turned around, his eyes bloodshot, like a furious beast. What did you say? I said your Grace was having an affair with a strange man in the women's restroom of the bar. I repeated. August was enraged. He took 2 steps forward and stared at me fiercely. Say that again and see what happens. I won't. I lowered my head to put on my shoes. August took a deep breath and turned to look at Butler Mark, who was peeking around. Mark, did you ask her to come? Who gave you the right to make decisions on your own? Master, Grace is really strange. The way she left was strange. And the way she came back is also strange. Butler Mark suggested. Master, now you're in full control of the Cleveland family. Please investigate Grace. Although the Barton family and our Cleveland family seem friendly, in the face of interests, no matter how friendly we are, we can become enemies. Shut up. August's face darkened. I'm asking you, did you ask Frida to come? Yes. Butler Mark broke into a cold sweat. Considering that you've served the Cleveland family for more than 20 years, I won't punish you, but send Frida back to where she came from. August said coldly and waved his hand. Butler Mark didn't dare to say a word. I put on my shoes and stood up, nodding. I'll leave on my own. I don't need you to drive me away. I walked towards the door and then turned back to look at Butler Mark. Mark, you saw it too. It's not that I didn't try to persuade him. Mr. August is just very assertive. Anyway, I'm here. You still have to give me that $6 million. Okay, $6 million. August squinted his eyes, the corners of his mouth full of mockery. Frida, so you came here for the money again. I can understand that. After all, you have to raise 3 sons. 3 sons. Butler Mark was stunned and looked at me in disbelief. I admitted it generously. Yes, I'm divorced and have 3 children. Mr. August, you said a long time ago that you don't care about anything about me. I just need to be a good substitute. Am I not a qualified substitute? Qualified. Very qualified. August's expression became even darker. You cooked ginger soup for me, danced for me, helped me choose a suit, and kept your hair short for me. You were all very qualified. Unfortunately, it was all for the money. He stared at me with his eyes, as if he wanted me to admit it, and also as if he wanted me to refute it. Butler Mark gently pushed me, indicating that I shouldn't say anything and go up to hug August. But I didn't hug him because I didn't love him. I only loved money. Yes, I'm here for the money. I nodded. August showed an expression of understanding, and a trace of loss and sadness flashed quickly in his eyes. Then why don't you leave? He turned around, no longer aggressive, only looking weak and powerless. I raised my foot and left. As a result, I ran into Grace head-on. She came back suddenly. Our eyes met. She was stunned for a moment, and her eyes turned red in an instant. She looked at August with a wronged expression. August instinctively stepped forward and hugged her. Grace, don't cry. Frida just came to get something. She forgot something here. What thing? Grace sniffled and asked. August couldn't answer. I shook my head. It's something insignificant. Maybe it was left in the women's restroom of the bar. Grace's face changed greatly, and then she quickly regained her pitiful look. Frida, I don't want to hear the word bar anymore. Can you please not mention it again? Frida, never mention the bar in front of Grace, August ordered coldly. Hee, you just mentioned it yourself. I didn't say a word and walked away quickly, but Grace spoke again. Wait a minute. I know what Frida forgot. I was very confused. Did I really forget something? August also stared at Grace in surprise. Grace walked into the villa on her own and pulled out a wooden box from the bottom of the cabinet under the TV wall. When the wooden box was opened, there was a stack of photos inside. Grace picked up the stack of photos and asked with a smile, Is this it? These are your photos, Frida. There are quite a lot of them. I was a bit dazed. When did I take so many photos? I took these photos, and Miss Frida didn't know about it. Butler Mark explained and quickly glanced at August. August explained to Grace with a calm face. At that time, I thought Frida really looked like you. I missed you so much that I asked Mark to take a lot of photos of her. I just forgot to throw them away. So that's it. I thought you liked her, Grace said, relieved. These photos seem to be taken secretly. It's unethical. We'd better burn them. She handed the photos to August. Butler Mark was anxious. Why don't we give them to Ms. Frida? Consider it a farewell gift. How can we give away secretly taken photos? We'd better burn them, Grace said gently. August looked at me and then turned to get the lighter. Under everyone's gaze, he lit the lighter and held up the photos. I saw myself in the photos. Myself spinning in high heels. Myself cooking ginger soup in the kitchen. Myself sniffing the roses in the garden. August's lighter was trembling, and the flames were jumping. But they hadn't touched the photos yet. Just give them to me. They look nice. I walked over. August's hand stopped trembling, and the flames went out. But Grace took his arm and said coquettishly, August, burn them quickly. I'm jealous. You can only take photos of me from now on. August's face tightened, and his eyes stared at me. I stretched out my hand. Give them to me. It's a pity to burn them. Don't give them to her. Burn them quickly. I haven't even taken so many nice photos. Grace raised her voice. She was getting impatient and stopped pretending to be gentle. August stared at me and then at her. Finally, the flames appeared again. A wisp of heat dissipated in the air, followed by a raging fire. My beautiful photos were burned to ashes in the flames. What a pity. Well, it's time to leave. I left August's house. No one tried to keep me. Grace was giggling and gave August a kiss. Butler Mark was sighing at the ashes on the ground. I didn't look back and walked away firmly, just like at the party when August left me to find Grace. My good days started again. This time, I was truly undisturbed. Even Butler Mark didn't come to find me again. But one night, when I got home late, Auntie Alice hadn't gone to bed yet. She told me about what happened during the day. It's really strange. There was a man wandering around nearby during the day. He looked lost and absent-minded. He tried to knock on the door several times but left. It scared me to death, she said. I was shocked when I heard this and quickly checked the surveillance camera. To my surprise, I saw August in the surveillance footage. He was wearing black clothes, a black hat, and a thick mask. He lingered near my house for a long time. He didn't look like a thief. He seemed to be coming to find me but was hesitant. Finally, he disappeared in the warm glow of the setting sun. Maybe he was just a lost person. Don't be afraid. I comforted Auntie Alice and told her to go to bed. I took a shower and went to bed myself, not thinking too much about it. The next day, the news of Mr. August and Miss Grace's marriage caused a sensation in the whole city. It was said that a row of Rolls-Royce wedding cars attracted countless onlookers, causing a traffic jam of 3 kilometers on Guangming Road. As for other secrets, ordinary people like us had no idea. We could only wish them happiness. A year later, I heard news about August again. I heard it in the most high-end bar in the city. This bar was very luxurious and attracted a lot of wealthy second-generation people to come and play. Since I worked here regularly, I could naturally hear some things from the second-generation circle. Have you heard? The Cleveland Families Group is facing a financial crisis. The Douglas family is frantically suppressing the Cleveland family. It is said that Mr. Daniel has had an affair with Miss Grace for a long time. Miss Grace conquered Mr. August, and the Cleveland Families Group is doomed. Is that too far-fetched? Can a single Grace destroy the Cleveland Families Group? Are you stupid? It's obvious that the Barton family and the Douglas family set a trap. Grace was just the bait to make August fall into it. I was surprised when I heard this. It seemed that Butler Mark's premonition was right. There was indeed something wrong with Grace. She even married August just to be a bait. No matter how shrewd the Cleveland family was, they couldn't have expected that their daughter-in-law would be so ruthless. With the joint suppression of the Barton family and the Douglas family, it was strange if the Cleveland family didn't go bankrupt. 2 months later, new news came. The Cleveland Families Group went bankrupt. The bankruptcy came so suddenly that it caused a huge shock in the circle. The second-generation people were all talking about this matter. I heard that Mr. August vomited blood and anger at the shareholders' meeting of the Cleveland Families Group. It was so tragic. Grace is so cheap. She's really a bitch. Shoo. Don't talk nonsense. Everyone was talking, but they didn't dare to say everything. They seemed to be hiding something and were afraid of something. I knew that August was finished. Half a month later, an old man wrapped in a thick coat came to find me. I looked at him for a long time before I recognized him as Butler Mark. I quickly opened the door and invited him in. Ms. Frida. The master jumped off the building. Butler Mark's voice was hoarse. He had a stubble beard and a miserable expression on his face. I pursed my lips. So August's father had jumped off the building. He was the backbone of the Cleveland Families Group. Since he had jumped off the building, it meant that there was no way to save the situation. What can I do? I poured a glass of water for Butler Mark. Butler Mark didn't drink it. He moved his dry vocal cords. Go and see the young master. He's terminally ill and doesn't have many days left to live. August is ill. Yes. The group went bankrupt. His father jumped off the building. And he was betrayed by everyone. Grace has long since cheated on him. She's so calculating. She started calculating 3 years ago. Cough cough. Butler Mark shed tears. The Douglas family has been planning for 10 years and finally waited for the opportunity. Daniel has been having an affair with Grace for a long time. The news that Grace had returned to the country was deliberately told to the young master by Daniel. Butler Mark said sorrowfully, I remembered the person who had passed on the message to August at that party. Then I thought of the man who had an affair with Grace in the women's restroom of the bar. I suddenly understood. So, it was all a setup. I said why the voice of that man in the women's restroom sounded familiar. It was him, the young master of the Douglas family. Daniel. I fell silent. Ms. Frida. Go and see the young master for the last time. Otherwise, he won't be able to rest in peace. Butler Mark pleaded at last. I nodded. I drove the car and took Butler Mark with me. The destination turned out to be a dental clinic. The door of the inner room was closed, and the smell of disinfectant filled the air. Butler Mark knocked on the door. A dentist opened the door, invited us in, then looked outside warily and locked the door again. I saw August lying on the dental chair. His face was pale, his eyes were closed, and his eyelashes trembled from time to time. He looked lifeless and had long lost his former high spirits. Even though I didn't love him, I couldn't help but feel sorry for him when I saw him like this. After all, he was my benefactor. I sat by the bed, and Butler Mark and the dentist tactfully retreated outside. After a moment of silence, I said, Mr. August, I'm here. August suddenly opened his eyes, and a light lit up in his red eyes. He stared at me blankly, his mouth open, as if he had countless words to say, but in the end, he just smiled with a sense of relief. You really don't love me. You only came here out of pity for me. There's no love in your eyes, he said. Although he was very weak, his voice was quite loud. Maybe it was a flash of vitality before death. I fell silent again. August began to gasp weakly. He reached out his hand and tried to touch my face. But he didn't have enough strength. His palm lifted and then dropped. I grabbed his hand and put it on my face. He suddenly shed tears. Frida, I was dead drunk on my birthday night. When I woke up and saw you sitting beside me, I suddenly thought that you were not like her. She wouldn't have stayed with me for a whole night. I didn't stay with you for a whole night. I set an alarm and pretended. I wiped his tears. I know. That's why you're so cute. August smiled. And the tears kept flowing. The cuteness was also a pretense. I wanted your money. I picked up the water cup beside me and tried to give August a sip of warm water. He shook his head and refused. His face looking miserable. You pretended everything. Why didn't you pretend to love me? I can't pretend. I put down the water cup. August nodded slightly and closed his eyes, as if he had fallen asleep. But then he suddenly asked, have you ever had a moment when you were attracted to me? Yes. If you had looked back at me when you went to find Grace at that party, maybe I would have been attracted to you. I lowered my eyes, hiding a trace of my past throbbing. August coughed and let out an incoherent laugh from his throat. Is that so? Is that so? I thought. I loved Grace very much. I thought I couldn't live without her. That's why I didn't look back at you. His eyes opened again, but they were even more cloudy. Don't talk anymore. Just have a good rest. I soothed softly. He didn't rest. He stared at me with his eyes wide open. Frida, your 3 sons are very cute. If I could do it all over again, I would definitely hug them when I saw them. I want to tell them. I want to be their father. His palm slipped from my face and landed on my leg. Butler Mark rushed over and burst into tears. Young master, August was dead. I sat there looking at him for a long time until the dentist covered him with a white cloth. Sometimes, a person's life is as fragile as a rose. It can be gone just like that. The Cleveland families group was like a wave, disappearing without a trace. People talked about it for a while and then stopped paying attention. 3 months later, when I went to the bar to DJ again, the second-generation people were no longer discussing this matter. August was like that stack of my photos that had been burned, leaving only a pile of ashes. Then the wind blew, and the ashes were gone too. But Grace was still there, and Daniel was still there. When I was using the restroom, I heard Grace's voice. Damn it. It's been 3 months. I can finally come out to have some fun. That old fool doesn't know what he's afraid of. Keeping an eye on me every day. Grace's high heels clicked loudly on the bathroom floor. A male voice laughed. He's just afraid of a bad reputation. I'm even wearing a mask, in case someone recognizes me and beats me up. We killed August. We should be careful of retribution. Who cares? August deserved to die. If he had just handed over the power of the group earlier, we wouldn't have had to take direct action. Grace cursed. Daniel sneered. TSK TSK. You don't love August at all. So heartless. Of course I loved him. But you seduced me. Who told you to always make it so exciting? Grace laughed lasciviously. Daniel immediately got excited and pushed Grace into the bathroom cubicle. Once again, my ears were assaulted. But it didn't last long before another person arrived. I thought it was a female customer, but the person went straight to Grace's cubicle and knocked on the door. Grace shouted angrily. Occupied. The person ignored her and kept knocking. Grace flew into a rage, opened the door, and shouted, I said it's occupied. Are you deaf? I bought them for her. But she didn't want them. You just put them on for me to have a look. Don't break them. August stared at the high-heeled shoes on my feet. Help! Help! The screams kept coming. But the bar was playing heavy metal music, and the whole place was filled with noise. Grace and the others' cries couldn't be heard outside at all. Stab! 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 One knife after another sank into the flesh. I broke out in a cold sweat, realizing that a murder was taking place next door. I didn't dare to move. Grace's final words were extremely weak. Mark. You. She couldn't finish her sentence and fell silent. I knew it was Butler Mark doing the killing. He had lain in wait for 3 months and finally seized this opportunity. Finally, he finished. I didn't know how many times he stabbed them. Then came the heavy footsteps as he left. A moment later, 2 girls came in and, upon seeing the gruesome scene, let out ear-piercing screams. I opened the door and ran out as fast as I could, not daring to take a look. When the police arrived, I was taken to the police station and interrogated multiple times. I cooperated fully but didn't reveal that Butler Mark was the murderer. The police still caught Butler Mark quickly, but he went to his death willingly. I suppose he wanted to die. A year later, I went to the cemetery to pay my respects to August. After his death, some relatives collected his body and buried him in the most unremarkable corner of the cemetery. There were the most withered branches and leaves here, and the fewest people came by. It was dim and gloomy. I swept his grave, placed the offerings, and finally laid a bouquet of roses. It was sunset, and the gravestone was bathed in a warm glow. That warm light left me lost in thought. August, you were a warm light in my life. Unfortunately, warm lights fade easily, just like this setting sun, disappearing into the darkness in an instant. If we could do it all over again, would you keep shining?